For nearly 4 months, Michael Carter existed in a space between life and silence. He did not speak. He did not move. He did not open his eyes. Doctors called it a deep coma, a condition where the brain shuts down to survive trauma. But to Michael's family, it felt like time itself had stopped. Every day looked the same. The same hospital room, the same machines, the same unanswered prayers. Michael was not a reckless man. He was 42, a construction supervisor from Ohio, known for showing up early and leaving late. He lived a simple life. Work, home, weekends with his family. He never imagined that one ordinary morning would separate his life into a before and an after. On his way to work, Michael suffered a sudden medical emergency behind the wheel. His vehicle drifted off the road and collided with a barrier. By the time emergency responders arrived, he was unconscious, struggling to breathe, his body unresponsive. At the hospital, doctors moved quickly. Swelling in his brain was severe. To prevent further damage, they placed him into a medically induced coma. Tubes and wires replaced conversation. Machines breathed for him. Medications kept his body stable. The doctors were careful with their words, but the meaning was clear. "There's no timeline," one of them said quietly. "He may wake up, or he may not. And if he does, we don't know who he'll be." Michael's wife, Laura, heard those words but refused to accept them as the end of the story. Every morning, she arrived at the hospital before sunrise. She sat beside his bed, held his hand, and spoke to him as if he were listening. She told him about the kids, about the bills, about the weather, about home. Their 2 sons, Daniel and Ethan, visited after school. At first, they were scared by the machines and the silence. But slowly, they began to talk to their father again. They told him about soccer practice, math tests, and small victories that felt big to them. Even when there was no response, they believed he could hear. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Birthdays passed. Holidays came and went. The seasons changed outside the hospital windows, but inside that room, nothing moved forward. There were moments when hope felt strong, and moments when it nearly disappeared. Doctors monitored brain activity. Some days showed slight improvement. Other days showed none at all. Late one night, Laura sat alone in the room, listening to the steady rhythm of the machines. She leaned close and whispered, "If you can hear me, you don't have to be strong. Just come back." Then, on a quiet morning that no one expected to be different, something changed. A nurse noticed a small movement in Michael's right hand. It was barely visible, but it was there. She called for another nurse. Then a doctor. They ran tests. They watched closely. A few hours later, Michael's eyes slowly opened. At first, there was confusion. Then disbelief. Then tears. After 118 days in a coma, Michael was awake. Laura cried openly, gripping his hand like she might lose him again. The nurses smiled. Even the doctors paused, fully aware of how rare moments like this could be. But as the excitement faded, reality settled in. Michael was awake, but he was not okay. He stared at faces he did not recognize. His speech was slurred, broken, difficult to understand. His muscles were weak from months of inactivity. He could not sit up on his own. He could not control his movements. When he tried to speak, frustration took over. Words didn't come out the way he wanted. His thoughts felt scattered, like pieces of a puzzle that no longer fit together. A doctor explained the situation honestly. "Waking up is only the first step," he said. "The brain has to relearn how to function. Recovery will be slow, and there are no guarantees." Michael was transferred from intensive care to a rehabilitation unit. Physical therapists worked with him daily. Occupational therapists helped him relearn basic tasks. Speech therapists encouraged him to form words, even when it felt impossible. Some days brought progress. He could lift his arm. He could say a full sentence. He could sit on the edge of the bed. Other days brought nothing but exhaustion and anger. Michael struggled with memory. Sometimes he forgot where he was. Sometimes he forgot what day it was. There were moments when he asked to go home, not realizing he was already there during short visits. The hardest moments came when he saw his reflection. The man staring back looked older, thinner, unfamiliar. He wondered if this was the person he would be forever. There were nights when Michael cried quietly, believing his life was over. Nights when he felt like a burden. Nights when the silence felt heavier than the coma ever did. But Laura never allowed him to face those moments alone. She reminded him of every small victory. She celebrated every step, every word, every improvement. She stayed patient when he repeated questions. She stayed strong when he lost hope. After several months, Michael returned home. Life outside the hospital felt overwhelming. Simple sounds felt too loud. Crowded rooms drained him. He tired easily. His body moved slower than his thoughts. The man who once worked long hours now focused on rebuilding his strength one day at a time. Success was no longer measured by promotions or paychecks, but by moments most people take for granted. Standing without support, walking across the room, remembering his son's birthday without being reminded. Recovery continued. Some abilities returned, others didn't. Doctors explained that healing from a coma doesn't follow a straight line. Progress comes in waves. Some improvements may take years. Some may never come at all. Today, Michael still lives with limitations. His memory isn't perfect. His energy is limited. Loud environments still overwhelm him. But his perspective on life has changed completely. He values mornings he once rushed through. He listens more than he speaks. He notices moments that once passed unnoticed. He understands how close everything came to ending. Michael doesn't call what happened a miracle. He calls it a second chance. Not to return to the life he had before, but to build a new one day at a time.